Ross's store, which I'm going back out there today. But if you have a Ross's in your area, you know, when you shop there, it's kind of like being at Big Lots. If you don't buy it when you see it, there, they don't get repeats of things in. So you know, when I found them, I think I got three large ones. Yeah, I got 3 large ones, and this one's about 15 inches. And then I got 2 smaller ones. See if the price is still. This one was $17. Price is still on the bottom. Someone else, Elaine, had grandsons, huh? That's okay. And I cut out, today I'm going to do, I've got some things laying in here, as you can see. I've just kind of laid them and placed them in. They're not glued down yet. But I'm going to show. I went in this morning online, and thank you, Wanda. That was a gift. I don't wear my rings very often. I haven't worn them in years. And I've got some pretty jewelry, but I've not worn it in years, and rings seem to bother me. But last weekend we went back to church again, and I kind of put a dressy outfit on, a little better clothes. Hadn't wore good clothes in a long time either. Closet full of good clothes, and don't wear nothing but, you know, jeans and t-shirts and work clothes all the time. So when I dressed Sunday, I put my rings on. And Daryl said, why don't you wear them? And I said, well, I'm going to try. But I've had it for years and years and years. And when we got married, we couldn't afford wedding, you know, back then we couldn't afford diamonds or afford fancy wedding rings. So we just had some bands when we got married. And then Daryl ended up, let's see, I think he lost one of his. I can't remember if it was the first ones we bought or after. But when my son was born then in 1970, let's see, Joe was born in 77. Daryl bought me a ring that year. And I've had it since then. I appreciate that. Okay, girls, went in this morning, and I wanted some roses, and I wanted a little something different on the tray. I'll try to look back and forth and, you know, try to keep up with your comments. But if I don't, you know me, I'll answer them later. Okay. Here, look, lost my train of thought. That's called old age. Oh, I did these. I went in and made me some new designs, and I was just putting them on a paper. I made this sheet. I made a sheet like this, and this is just a mix of things which you would cut out. You know, you could use these or use this one by itself, or you could cut out the roses. Then I made a sheet, which I've been cutting on. I made a sheet of just roses, you know, just rose designs that I wanted to use. And I made one of a high heel, which I've already cut it out, but I did just a fancy shoe, a high heel, because this is a lady's tray. So I thought, well, I'll put something feminine on it. So you naturally you're going to do that. Then I printed this one. I made this one, printed this one. This one has a handbag and shoes and her perfume and stuff over here. So it has a little bit of mixed stuff on it. But when I get done here, I'll give you girls a couple of the patterns with a sheet of the roses and some of what we're doing. I'll put those in the thing for you to use. Okay. So I have went in and cut out. I've cut out the rose designs. I had these, and I've cut these out. We're going to do this today. We're going to place these like we've done and just make it kind of look like we've painted them on here, but we're just using the paper and placing them on. So I've got my Mod Podge over here, which has a little bit of water in it, as you know. And I kind of, as I cut my designs out, I placed them down here to see where I wanted to put them. And I kind of put my, the shoe, see, I went down here on my iPad, it sticks on me and I don't get anywhere. I don't know why that is. It won't play, it just hangs there. Maybe it will now. Maybe it's moving a little bit. But that's the beginning of it. Okay, each one of these little sections is a different piece. I painted my tray. This was a mirrored tray. And I painted it first with a coat of the Josania's sealer, which is the one I told you about before, this all-purpose sealer. So I put a coat of this on my tray first and got it down and let it dry. Then I've put about 3 coats, I think, of the mixture that I made of the white to make it kind of an off-white. I didn't want it to be white, so I've mixed it to where it's kind of an off-white color. And I've got about 3 coats of that on there, and I've let that dry real good too. Okay, so then I cut out all my pieces. I cut out my shoe out of the design, which is just a shoe and some flowers and stuff around it. And I placed it, I didn't want to center it, so I placed it kind of down to the right side. And then I've got one rose. I've got one rose down here. You just have to kind of play with your, after you cut them all out. I did a fussy cut. Use my little tiny scissors, and I cut them out as exact as I could. So you have to just, after you get them all cut out, then you have to just kind of place them the way you want them to go. So up here, I even cut some single leaves out this time. See, I did just some single leaves to add those in, and then we'll connect them by painting to add them in to connect them to the picture. Then I've got a pattern of roses up here, which I just lay down, and I've got another one kind of overlapping it. This one is just kind of overlapping that one to get that design up there. I've got a couple of leaves stuck out here, one here. Then down here I've got this one little rose cut out. And then I've got 2 single roses here cut out just to extend it up above. See, I cut these down, just cut me out a single rose and just placed them. You got to get all your placement on there before you start gluing. And then you got to glue the bottom part. You got to work your way from the bottom out. Usually you can touch that with a wet finger to move those around, because it's hard to move them once you get them down on there. Okay, but once you get your placement, then you're going to decide where you're going to put what. Okay, and then you don't start gluing until you get all your placement in. Then after we glue them in, we're going to go back and put a little bit of shading around them, and some highlights with some, some work with a little bit of paint in. Now, when I cut these out, some of them I cut as a full sheet. I cut that whole thing out, and some of them I just took the rose off. Like this one, I cut this one out and just took the rose off of this one to use just the roses by themselves. So on this sheet, which I will give you a sheet of roses, and I'll give you another sheet that has the shoe and things on it. So on it, you'll be able to cut out, like if you want to use this, you could just use this one section of the roses here and leave those off. You don't have to use the whole thing because you got it. If you needed some extra leaves, you could just cut these leaves out and use them. You don't have to use the whole piece as one. You can section it up and use it, individually. But the one sheet I had the shoes, which I've already cut up, has the shoes and some roses on it, and then another one is just a sheet of roses. So you'll be able to mix and match them and put them on different things if you cut them out. Okay, now I think I'm about ready to start with my glue, start with my Mod Podge. So down here on the bottom, I'm going to glue this shoe down first. So I'm going to raise this little rose up and lay it to the side. And I'm going to hold that shoe up to the edge. And I'm going to put me a little bit of glue in there. Got a piece of big gob there, so I've got to get that out. Okay. It's so hard to not get the hairs. It's hard when you're working to not get the hairs on your brush. You have to really pay attention to that, because the hairs on your brush will pop out, and then you're stuck with the hair there, and they're so hard to get off when you got the glue. You just have to work them to the side and then wipe to get that out. Okay, now I'm going to lay that one down. Lay it down, and I'm going to start from the middle and press out toward my top. It's a little aggravating working down in the tray, but you can manage it. Because we've got the sides on it. Working on a flat one's a whole lot easier. But these trays are beautiful. I always watch for dresser trays. Sometimes I've found them at Home Goods before, and one other time I think I found one at Gabe's. Found it really pretty one at Gabe's. So anytime you're in the store, just go over to the department where they have the makeup and stuff and look and see what they happen to have, because some of those stores like Gabe's and Home Goods, you know, the ones that are cheaper, whatever they have, like I said, they just get it the one time, and they may not have but one or two of them. Now the ones I bought from Home Goods, I was able to get a bunch of them because I bought one in the store, and then I come home and went online and ordered those, and I've got probably a dozen of those in stock, but they're not very big. They're smaller ones. Now I'm going to sneak into the bottom of that, up under the edges, and be sure that I've got it all glued down. Just turning as I go. Get those down in there. See, got that's not glued down good. And I'm going to go ahead and put the top coat right on top of that as I go around. Get over here to this edge a little bit. It's time to get the fall and the Halloween stuff started. So I've been working on designs for them and going to start doing some things for fall. Okay, now I've got that one out. I'm going to go right back in and lay this little rose. I had this little rose. I'm just going to put it right down here at the bottom of the shoe, just like it's laying underneath the shoe. Let it go right up on my shoe a little bit, but I'm going to leave it out enough around the edges there because I may want to put a band of beads or something around that edge, so I come right up on the shoe a little bit. I should have raised that shoe up just a little higher, but it's already down. When I'm finished, I can take a string of beads and glue around the inside, or, you know, use my pearl paint, my liquid pearl, to do that with. Now I'm going to pick this one up, kind of holding my place here so I know where I'm going to put it, and put that one in. This is a fast way to create a really pretty design. Okay, let's see, I should have put that one, move that one over. I'm going to put this rose in underneath here, this one a little bit, so I better put it down first. Okay, got that rose down, then I'm going to let's lay them right on top of it. Okay, now I've got to put a little bit of glue in there to get that glued down, so it looks like that rose is right underneath those others. Okay. Now this one, I'm going to put a little bit of glue there. Get that one right under that. It's got a little stem on it, so I'm going to very lightly stick that little stem right there underneath that petal so it looks like it's coming out from under there. You either got to connect them as you go, or go back and connect them with line work that you're putting in there. Okay? So now I've got a little leaf here. I'm going to lay it down, and I'll connect it in later with just my brush. So I'm going to put that little leaf right there. And I got another one up here to the top. Put it right up there. Then after I get done, I'll take my paintbrush and connect that in. Okay, got a little leaf over here. And put it right there. Okay, now I've got that much of it down. One part of the tray is down. Now we'll go back up here to the other side. and work on this side. Okay, now this one is underneath, so I'm going to move this one over just a hair and pick this one up first. Lay it right back down there. Has anybody besides Dana there painted hydrangeas this week? I never did finish my tray that I had. We might just finish that in class, the one that I started the hydrangeas on. I haven't finished it yet. I want to see them when you get them done. Okay, that one down. Now I've got a couple of big leaves here. I'm going to just extend these right up here. And I'm going to put this other one right over here on this side. Okay, now we're ready to go back to this one. It's going to overlap that one just a little tiny bit. So I'm going to it's a little nippy here today. The weather's been beautiful, but it got up this morning. It was a little chilly this morning. Make sure your edges are down. Just sneak right up under there. Get all your edges glued down. And it overlaps a little, so I'm going to go back in and put the glue all over the top. Got some crap in my glue there. Should have stirred it before I started. Okay, now I've got one leaf here. I'll put it right there. Oh, too much glue. And I've got one little tiny one here. So we'll just put it right in there. Okay, now we can see. Everything's glued down. See, that's pretty just like it is. But we're going to go in. Hey, Peggy, how are you? We're going to go in and do a little bit of shading, a little bit of highlighting on these things and spruce them up a little bit. So now, because I'm going to shade, I'm going to take a coat of my Mod Podge and go all over my tray. I'm going to seal it in, just work my way right around through there because I'm going to put a little bit of color in here and there. And this will seal the wood part so that it doesn't, I can move it easier without it just sitting there and grabbing this when you first put it down. If you seal that as you go around. So I'm just taking a coat of the glue all over, coming around the tray. Dana did poke Debbie. Oh no, it was you that made the, I'm getting names confused. Yeah, it was you that painted the hydrangeas, right? I knew one of you did, but I got the name wrong. You done a good job on them, and a beautiful job on your leaves. The more you do, the better you get at it, girls. Got a little spot there. Projects like this are quick. Now if you see, that's a difference in painting and decoupage. Some things I like to paint, but you can decoupage and do it so much faster, and it looks just about as good when you decoupage it, you know, if you do it in sections and get it on there right. So you're about a third of the time, not more than a third, you're, you know, to paint all this on this tray would take all day. You know, I'd be working on it biggest part of the day, and I'm fast. So you can get it on a whole lot faster and finish a whole lot more projects, especially if you're doing it to sell. You know, if you're doing it for craft shows or you got a booth or something, then you're doing it, you know, you're going to get a whole lot more stock done and created than you would just doing it to paint. Okay, I think I've went all over it. I'm not positive, but I think so. Okay, now we've got that much of it on there. See? Still practicing curlicues. You know what? You're practicing is too hard, is trying too hard. You're trying to make them too perfect, girls, when you do. I did the same thing. When I first started doing them, I wanted it to have 3 little curls on it. And that's not, you know, that's not possible to do. That's very, very hard when you think, well, that's got to have 3 little curls coming out there. And they're going to hit and miss. So if you try too hard, then that's what comes up. But if you just play with them and freehand and let them flow just like you're a kid doing it, you know, a little 4-year-old playing with it, then you'll get them. And once you get them, once you realize how light the touch is and the paint, I'm trying to get the stuff off my brush here. Once you realize how light a touch you have and how thin your paint is, then you'll have it licked. You know, you'll be able to do that, and it'll just slide, and you'll think, well, that was so simple. Now I'm going to dry this a little bit so we can go ahead and work on it. So I'm going to use my dryer. Okay, that should do it. Okay, now we're going to start with some paint and play with some paint for a while. Now this shoe has a little bit of like a gray tone to it, so I think I'm going to use a gray to shade underneath that shoe with. Let me see if I've got a pale gray here. If I don't, I'll fix me a little bit of gray and white together. I got stuff sitting everywhere. Okay, here's one. This shoe, first I need to put some shading underneath that shoe so that it has something to sit down on. And this is called, this is platinum, and I don't believe this is the one I want, because I think this is the one, yep, that's not. The platinum is more like a metallic. I bought that paint not realizing that it was that much of a color. You know, the way it was, it's metallic-like, but it's gray. I just picked it up for gray without reading on it. Okay, here's one. This one is called Bridgeport. I'm going to put me a little bit of that out. I've got a little bit of pink already on my palette here where I was working with some other things. Put out a little bit more of that. I've been varnishing and finishing that piece I done yesterday. I've been working on it this morning, finishing it this morning. That was this piece. And this is the base that goes under it. So I've got it ready to put together. Got my glitter on it. I don't know if you can see that glitter or not, if the light will let you see that. If I turn it, yeah, if I turn it a certain way there, you can see the glitter, because I put glitter in that final coat of varnish on that one so that it would shine real pretty, and I like that one. And then after I screw it down to the base, I will put my candle holder and some stuff in the top of it then, some ribbons and stuff. But I finished that out this morning. Got a little bit of pink, a little bit of white. We'll put out a little touch of gray. And that one's too dark. And I'm going to get me some painting medium. I just lost it down on my iPad. My iPad, that's the thing about having Apple products. Oh, I got varnish instead of... When you have Apple stuff, which I love my iPad, but they become obsolete and then you're just up the creek. And one will last you about 3-4 years is all you get out of it. And then they want you to buy a new one. And that's the expense of them. So this last time I bought me a tablet that's an Android. And I paid quite a bit for it, but I think you can update them and do a lot more with them. So my iPad now's to the point, I'm on my second one, but it's now to the point where it don't, it's not doing things that it should be doing. So it's aggravating sometimes. Okay, I'm going to pick me up a couple of brushes over here. See what I got. I need something that's about a 10. The brushes I got from Temu, yeah, however you say that, those brushes have been great, girls. I've used, a lot of the different ones, and they've all been as good as what we're buying from Hobby Lobby. So I like the colors on this one too, Peggy. Debbie, if you're getting your lines too thick, you're probably not thinning your paint enough, or you're pressing down too hard on your brush. If you use a liner brush and you stand it straight up and down till you're only using the tip, you'll get a fine line. But if you lay that brush down the least little bit, you're going to get a thicker line. So that's probably what you're doing. Now I've got my brush here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of medium on my brush. I'm going to put a little bit of medium on it, and then on one corner I'm going to put a little bit of the gray, and I'm going to blend it on my palette a little bit. So I've got just the gray is only on the left side of my brush. Then I'm going to go right in here, and this has to go across, because that shoe, to get it underneath the shoe, correctly, you're going to have to go straight across and just kind of back and forth. And like I said, this is a little bit tricky working down in the tray, because you've got to hold your brush up a little higher. But I'm just going back and forth underneath that shoe a little bit with a little bit of that gray. I'm going to try to pull a little bit around that rose. You can always go back and strengthen it a little bit right up close to the shoe after you put the first coat on. Because the strength of the paint, the darkest of it, should be right up close to the bottom of the shoe. Then it just fades out into as you bring it down. You just take it across, back and forth, and it just fades out for you. See right here where I've put that in there? So I'll go back in after it's dry a little bit. I'll go back in and touch right up close to the shoe. Now, see, I forgot to get me a little bit of green. I'm going to get a little bit of green to go around some of my leaves. I've got some pink. And let's see what else I need here. I'm going to put me out a little bit of the blue. Let's see, what's that called? I'm looking for that. Okay, blue mist. And we'll put me out a little touch of blue mist. So I'm just going to play back and forth with the colors. I'm not going to use a sponge because I don't want the colors to go way out in. I'm not going to cover the whole tray with colors. I'm just going to get in close to the pattern in some places. So I'm using my medium, and on one corner of my brush I'm going to pick up a little bit of the green, just a little tat. If it gets too dark, then I pick up a little bit of white to go with it and just mix it on my palette a little bit. And I'm just going to go right in here, right close to some of these leaves, and pull me a little bit of color. Don't have to do every one. I just want some color in there a little bit. After I get it right up close to the leaf, then I'll just kind of drag it out a little bit. And if it gets too much, you can just take your finger. I've got that sealer on my tray here, so I can work that a little bit. Just kind of pity pat and move it around a little. If I get too much on there, I can pick up a little bit of white and go right back in and work it out. I'm not going to put much at all. So you just top those leaves. See, just right in here, I just kind of pulled some out right around close to those leaves. And I'm going to come right on down around the back of my shoe a little bit. Just working the colors. I might pick up a white with a little bit of the blue mist. You just got to kind of play back and forth with your colors. There's whatever colors is in your design, that's the colors you're going to be working with. If you have pink in your design, then you're going to have a little bit of pink on your shading around there. If you have whatever color you have in the design is some of the colors that you'll be patting in around there. And I'm just going back and forth with one and then the other. I'm not going to go way out. I'm staying kind of close into the shoe. Now I'm going to come back here and pick me up a little bit more of the gray and come right close to the shoe and darken that, strengthen that just a little bit right where the shoe, the base of the shoe is, and come out with it. So it's a little bit darker right close and then just fades right down into nothing. See? Now, see how I strengthened that just a little bit underneath the shoe, and I've got a little bit up here. I've put just a light touch around the back of the shoe. Now I'm going to go down here just a little bit. This had kind of a shadow in here on the pattern, and I just left that in there. So I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to just pick up a little bit of a color or two and kind of mix in there. Just to play with that. And we'll put a little bit of color right down in here where this spot's at. Just pat it, just kind of a pity pat motion. And a little bit out here around it a little bit. And I'm not doing everything, not going around everything, just kind of a hit and miss to put a little bit of color out there. Just kind of do a choppy motion, and then you can just take your finger and kind of pat it a little bit, and just puts a little bit of color in there. Now I'm ready to go down here to the flowers, and I'm going to start with my green to go a little bit around some of the leaves. Right here, I'm going to go a little bit. Just shade, a little bit of shading behind those leaves. Come up here's one. Now I've still got to connect that leaf. The leaves that I set in by themselves up here, I'll have to draw a stem up to them to connect them with my pattern. I'm just coming right inside those roses and right around there with a little bit of the green to just kind of put a little bit of shading in behind them. See? I'm not picking up very much paint, and I've got the painting medium on my brush. So that helps to move it, helps to just set it down on there. See, now that one just about finishes that one out. Just a little touch of color is all you need. We go right on up to the next one. Now I've got a leaf right here that I set on there. Put a little color around it. A little color around this one. And then right up here. See? Is that Joe Sonia's clear glazing medium? No, Peggy, this one I have is folk art. And I've just got this one bottle. I don't even remember where I got it, because I used to use the one I used for so long I can't get anymore. And then I bought some deco art. I think it's deco art over here. I bought a whole case of it, and I'm not crazy about it. I think that's what, let me see if I can find one of them. No, yeah, this is Deco Arts Traditions, and I'm not crazy about that one. And I've got 5 or 6 bottles of it, so I'm going to have to learn to use it, because it's too much to waste. So I will just keep playing with it until I get used. But this one is the folk art. I haven't used hers for a long time. She does have a good one, but I've just not used it for a while. Now let's see. I'm still working on the leaves. Going right out around this pattern a little bit. Then I'll go back in with a little bit of the other colors, the pinks. If you hear something hear something bouncing, that's my neighbor. My neighbors here live real close to me on the right side, and their little boys playing basketball. Our yards are real close together. Okay. When should you use Wanda? When a painting medium is to help you move your paint. If I would just pick this paint up, now you can do it with water once you learn to do it, but you have to learn to do it with water, because water is so thin that it will cause your paint to thin. But if you use the painting medium, it has a little bit of body to it, and when you put that on your brush and then your paint, it allows you to move that paint around without it looking, it kind of puts a glaze. It's a glazing medium is what it is, and it kind of puts a glaze in that paint to where you're not using just straight paint. If I went on there with just straight paint, it would just paint me a straight line. I would just have a line. But if I've got that glazing medium on my brush, then it's going to fade that color out from the, from the tip of my leaf out to the edge. See here, if I would just go in with straight paint, which I don't want to do that, but if I would just go in with straight paint, then I would just be outlining. And I want this to kind of just fade. It gives you color that starts with a sharp edge and then just blends out to nothing. Put it on your brush and do it on your palette, and you will see. See, when I put it on my brush and I do this on my palette, and you can always do it in the same spot, it starts with a harsh line, but then it just fades over into the brush into nothing. Okay? It allows you to move your paint. It's just, simple, without having it look like I painted a line around there. See, I can just kind of pat it. I can use it just a pat motion there, instead of just painting, like I said, and then I could just, you know, I can go anywhere with it, and it don't look like it's, see, it doesn't look like it's outlined. It just looks like a shadow. I'll get it out in a minute. It just makes your thing look like it's got a shadow behind it. Like here, see, I've got a little bit of color in there, and up around here, it's just kind of a shadow. See, I don't have any right here. You can see how much stronger this is. See this right here? Now I've got that one. Now let me pick up a little bit and go around that one a little bit, and you'll see the difference. See, if I go right here around this leaf, see how that puts a little bit of green around that leaf? Can you see that little tiny bit of green there? And I go to the other side, flip my brush over, and put a little bit on that side. And I can just pat it right out. And it just blends right out into your background. It gives you a shadow. That's exactly, it's just a shadow behind your design instead of painting a line around it. And then, like I said, your colors, all your colors that's in your pattern, you should have some of those around in your shadows too. So I'm picking up a little bit of pink, and I'll come right here close to this rose and dab a little bit of pink in there. Right down here, let's see, right here, the rose, I can put a little bit of pink right there, because that's like a reflection. It puts like a reflection of that rose in behind it by adding a little bit of the pink in there. And just bring it out. All the colors that's in your design, you can pat right out into your background. See, I can go right up here, pat this pink out into here, a little bit here. It's hard for you to see it on the camera, but close up you would be able to really tell that it's there. See, now I've put a little bit of pink, like real close to the roses, real close, like right in here is a little bit. So it makes it real, and it just gives it a little bit of a shadow in behind it than just being a straight thing. Now this one, I haven't put any color around these roses. See how these roses are nothing behind them? And I turn it up here. I've got some shadow behind this, but I don't have any up here. So can you see the difference? See the difference in that? Okay. Okay, Bernie, we'll be here. My girls have to be picked up too, or the one. Thank goodness we live right beside the school, so it's a 5-minute thing out there to pick her up. Okay, now see, I'm putting a little bit of pink around that rose on the outside, but I'll also pick up a little bit of green and not just leave it just the pink in there. Years ago when we went to school, nobody would ever thought of taking their kids to school. But nowadays you have to sit in the line when you take them in the morning and sit in the line when you pick them up in the evening. Okay? We're just about done, girls. This is going to be a quick class. See? Now I'm going to go back in with my green and my striper, and I'm going to pull some color out into those, into my design here. Let me see where my brush is at. Stuck my brushes down in my thing here this morning, and I misplaced them. So I guess, well, I know I got one laying here somewhere. Now I got to find it. Okay, maybe we can use that one. I need a striper. That one's way too long. Okay, here it is. See, a striper's just got very teeny tiny little hairs in it. This one does, and it's a lot shorter. See how short this one is to this one? The length of them. You can see the length of those two brushes. See, this is the one I like. And then this one, look how long this one is. This is the 3 compared. You got 3 sizes of stripers here. See the middle one, how long that middle one is? That middle one's probably 1.5 to 2 inches long. and each has a purpose. So this time when I use the liner now, I'm going to put water in my brush. Water in my brush, pull it out on my palette, and make my paint has to be about like ink. And you always load flat, and then you roll to a point. Okay, now I'm going to go in here and pull me a stem out for these leaves here. Pull a stem out to here. Connect those leaves to my pattern, to my flowers. Okay, right down here I've got a couple. You got to have them on there connected or they'll fall off. Okay, now I'm ready for curlicues. See, I like that. It's pretty good. And I will use my toothbrush on it. Now let's go back in and I'm going to load this brush with a lot of paint. Put some water in it. Pick up my darkest green, which is a leaf green. Work it way up into that brush. Now this is not a real long striper, so it's not going to make a whole lot of curlicues. Okay, then I'm going to hold it. My hand's going to rest on the side of this tray this time so I can leave my little finger up here, and I'm going to barely touch the tip of the brush down and just pull it. See? So you just set it down and then just twirl it around. Right back into the design. You got to put them, sometimes they go right back in there to the design. Sometimes you might make long ones and sometimes you make short ones. See, not going to do that one very long. Okay, I think we got it, except for putting the toothbrush to it. I believe we got it just about done. Now, after I varnish this one, I probably will take a bead, a row of beads, all the way around, glue them around on the inside of it. Okay, now I'm going to go down to my toothbrush, and I'm going to use my go-to color, and put me some, a little bit of color in there. Let's see where my paint is. Oh, up here. I like this dark red, this burgundy color, which is cranberry wine. That's a good color to have. I keep that all the time. I went to Hobby Lobby a couple evenings ago with the girls, and I looked to see if they had the paints that was listed in Roz's book. They had, I think they had the biggest majority of them, except there was one color, that antique mauve. I don't think that's available anymore. But the other colors, they had the green and the light, lighter shades, they had those. But that antique mauve, which is a good color, and I liked it. I'm down to probably the last that I had, but they did not have that, so you just have to get you something else to substitute for it. Okay, now I've got my thing. I'm going to put the tip into my toothbrush in here. We may just next week go back and paint those hydrangeas again. I have worked on them a number of times so you can get a little more about them. And I'll finish that tray that I'm working on. I'll put these patterns on the web page for you today. I'm also trying to get my web page, my vintage2chic.net, set up to sell prints on. I don't want to sell prints on in my Etsy shop for the simple fact that I have over 200 designs in there, and if I start printing them, selling them printed, then I'm going to be doing nothing but printing papers, and I don't want to do that all day long. So I'm going to leave it as a digital, and I'm going to move some, just put some over onto my web page. I'm going to keep maybe 25, 30 designs on the web page all the time, switching them in and out different designs. And that way, because I have a lot of customers that's, that's not on Facebook, that don't, they don't order prints and they want them printed, or they buy them and then they can't figure out how to download them. I have to, and I can sell them printed easy, but I don't have a commercial printer. If I invest in a commercial printer, it's too much, too much more for me to get into. It's thousands of dollars for a commercial printer. So I'm going to open up my website just to certain 25, 30 at a time on there. And I'll switch them out, some of them according to season. Some if sells good, then we'll keep on there. And then if we have something that's, we'll switch out to fall season or to Christmas, we'll switch them out all the time. And then what wood kits we keep, what we sell, we probably will put those on there too, so you can go in any time and purchase one ready to, ready to go. It's hard getting Joe to paint. He doesn't work enough in the shop for me to put them on there all the time and keep them up, because that's not, I'm afraid I can't keep up with it. If I try to put them on my Etsy shop and put them all over, then I'm afraid I can't keep up with it. And he won't be here, he won't be there to make them for me, then I'm stuck. As it is now, I only sell what he already has made. Okay, girls, I think I'm done. I think that turned out pretty good. You will get the design for the shoes and a sheet for the roses. I'll put all that in the page for you this evening. And I hope you've enjoyed today. I've enjoyed chatting with you and painting with you. And if you have any questions I haven't answered, I will come back later and check to see what you have, or if you need any others, just shoot me a message and I'll answer them for you. And I hope you can find you some trays. If you have Ross's in your area, or Gabe's, or those, those kind of stores, it's kind of like Big Lots. I've not been to Big Lots in a long time, probably since before Christmas that I've been in Big Lots, so I haven't checked their place for a long time. I've got so much stock, as you can see back over there in the corner. I've got all those wood trays and things, and I've got it all over the room. And that's what my granddaughter, I say something about going to Hobby Lobby, Morgan will say, Mama, you don't need to go to Hobby Lobby. You got too much stuff already to go to Hobby Lobby. We'll be working on getting my yard sale stuff ready again this weekend. Okay, girls, I think I'm out of here. I appreciate each one of you, and I'm glad to have you with me, and I hope you have a good day, and we'll chat this week, and I'll be back next week. We've already got a schedule for next week. I think we're in the evening next Thursday, and then we'll see what we're going to be going from there. Okay, girls, have a great day. Bye-bye. Let's see if I can get out of here. Here we go. Thank you, Pam.